Good morning to the honorable judges, teachers, and my fellow friends. Today I'm going to be presenting you a story titled Yes and No. Hope you enjoy my story. Before words were words, a boy named Yes lived in a small village in a small kingdom. Yes was good at everything. He was the best, smartest, and most liked person in his village. Yes had a brother, and his name was No. No was jealous of his brother because he was not much good at anything himself. Whenever the villagers asked No for help, he refused because he didn't like people very much. Whenever the villagers asked Yes for a favor, he would gladly help, and he didn't mind the fact that it irritated No when he did. One day, Yes and No father, went on a long journey and left his two sons in charge of all the animals. Yes took care of the great gok, the eeks, and the three-toed yak. No didn't want to be bothered with the boring task involved of taking care of the animals, so instead, he went down the lake and threw some rocks into the water. And after his father left, Yes asked his brother to take care of the three-toed yak. And it just so happened that the king had a personal road nearby, and he traveled on it often. So often, when the three-toed yak wandered into the king's road, and the king's carriage was passing by and he had to swerve to avoid hitting it. The king was thrown from the carriage and fell to the ground and hurt himself. The king demanded to know why a three-toed yak was allowed in his road, and asked all the villagers for an explanation. Yas was always honest, so he told the king the entire story. The king thought for a moment. Then he came up with an idea that he was quite happy with. Yes and No were to work at the castle as his personal assistants, as a punishment for what was later referred as the worst three-toed yak and carriage accident in the kingdom's history. The king needed to help with many things around the castle because the king could not be bothered with the daily tasks involved with running a kingdom. However, soon after his decisions about the two brothers, and king realized Yes will only be used to him as a servant, and asked if the king asked No to bring him anything, it will get thrown away, broken, or eaten with an exception. The king was quite sure that No was the worst servant in the entire world. The brothers' most important task was to help pick food for the grand party, and the king was touring later that night. Cooks from all over the kingdom lined up at the castle's gate to offer their food for the party. Of course, the king could not go grab the food himself, so he asked Yes and No to do it for him. The first cook stepped up to the gate and yelled to the gatekeeper, "I may bring my delicious ogberry pie for the king's banquet." And the king heard this and thought the ogberry pie would be perfect for such an event. He didn't want anything to happen to the ogberry pie, so he yelled, "Yes!" and asked him to go fetch it. The next cook stepped up to the gate and said, "I offer the king gherkin soup." And the king didn't like gherkin soup very much, and he knew just how to get rid of it. "No!" he yelled, and sent No out to retrieve the soup. No dropped the soup before the king could even smell it. This went for hours. If the king liked the dish, he would yell yes, and it would be included in the night's feast. If he did not, everyone will hear a loud no, and it will be destroyed moment later with a servant with a very bad attitude. Pretty soon this started catching around the kingdom, for if the king does something, his loyal subjects are never far behind. If they didn't want a second scoop of potatoes, they would say no. If they like what someone's offering, they would say yes. And ever since that day, yes has meant yes, and no has meant no. This small kingdom also happens to be the birthplace of Yes and No's cousin, Please and Thanks. But that is another story for another time. Thank you.